Today, I'm going to tell you about a professional thief and serial killer nicknamed by the FBI as the Railroad Killer. The reason? His genius way of moving between trains from Mexico to America. He carried out robberies on houses and railroad properties, stealing and escaping in the blink of an eye. He even dared the FBI to catch him. But the craziest part of the story is how it ends. Someone from his own family helped the authorities catch him. But will they actually get him? You'll find out when you watch the story. Stay tuned and enjoy the video. On December 17th, in 1998, a woman in Texas called the police while standing in front of her friend's house. She told them her friend was a doctor and was supposed to start work that day, but she'd been calling all day and never answered. The police responded right away and went to the address. After walking around the house, everything seemed normal, but then they noticed the garage door was open. When they opened it and went inside, the scene was unsettling. It was clear the house had been broken into. Nearby, they found a crowbar, which looked like the killer's weapon. Later, investigators learned the doctor was married and had her kids, her husband, and their kids were traveling to another city to visit relatives. But she didn't go with them because she had to stay for work. From the crime scene, it was clear that after killing the doctor, the killer took their time thoroughly searching everywhere, leaving no spot unchecked, and stole valuable things from the house. After committing the crime, he ate some fruit from the kitchen, an apple and a banana, probably because he was hungry. Once he finished the murder, theft, and eating, he took the doctor's car keys and fled the house. 2 days later, the police found her car parked at a hotel lot, and inside was a cleaver. The killer was a guitarist, but I have no idea what he looks like. He played guitar and wanted to entertain himself after committing the crime. After examining the body, they found out the cause of death was multiple stab wounds and a strong blow to the head. The victim had accepted the attack while the killer was stealing valuable belongings. He didn't leave any fingerprints behind, but there was a broken piece in the house. It was clear that he had broken it from inside the car to start it. The big mistake he didn't notice was that this piece had his fingerprint on it. He hadn't considered that, which means he was dumb but also smart in a way, because when the investigators matched the fingerprint, it turned out to belong to him. His name was Carlos Rodriguez, but at the same time, they found out the fingerprint actually belonged to a guy named Rafael Resendiz. That was his real name. After that, the file was handed over to the FBI, and when they checked the fingerprint, they discovered it belonged to someone who had been using multiple fake identities and had a criminal record spanning over 20 years. This guy was originally from Mexico. When the investigators looked into his file, they found out he'd been traveling illegally back and forth between the U.S. and Mexico. He'd been caught multiple times for robbing railway properties in California and was deported to Mexico, but he kept moving between the two countries. The investigators tried to reach out to his friends and family, but he didn't have anyone close in his life. He only had one sister whom he saw occasionally. So the investigators called her and tried to get details about her brother, but she told them she didn't know anything about him and didn't want to get him in trouble. She said that sometimes he would meet up with her for a few days, but then he'd just disappear again. She asked them to let her know if they found out anything about him. After that, they released his photo to the media and asked the public for help, especially railway and train workers, since he used to hang around those areas and steal property. Despite that, a lot of people saw him and called the police, but he kept disappearing from the scene. 5 months after the doctor was killed, in Texas, Rafael decided to carry out a robbery at a house. One night, he broke into the house through a window, went to the garage, grabbed a huge hammer, and went to the bedroom. He hit a man and his wife multiple times until they died. The man was a preacher at a church. 2 days after the crime, 2 young guys from the church went to check on him to find out why he hadn't been around. When they got there, the door was open, so they went inside and saw the disaster that had happened. Right away, they realized it was Rafael who did it because after carrying out the crime was that he stole their car and ran away with it, but after a few days they found it next to a train track. The most important evidence was the DNA they found at the crime scene. He didn't pick a convenient spot. He was pulling off burglaries on houses, and tracking him while he was moving by train is almost impossible. Every railway track has tons of trains passing through, and it's not clear which train he's on. When they search the place where the crime happened, he's usually moved somewhere else far away, committing a new robbery. After checking his extensive criminal record, they suspected Rafael was involved in more crimes than they knew about. When they entered the crime details into the criminal arrest program, it showed that there was an assault case in Kentucky that hadn't been solved. It happened one night back in 1997. A college student was walking with her boyfriend near a train track when suddenly a guy came up to them, threw a rock at the guy, and killed him. Then he attacked the girl, seriously injuring her, and ran away. Even though she was badly hurt, the girl managed to get help from a nearby house. After the police questioned her, she was able to describe the attacker, and they made a sketch based on her description. When they compared the sketch, it matched Rafa's. The resemblance between them was striking, and the definite proof was the DNA. After the attack on her, the university student, they managed to get the killer's DNA traces. When they tested and compared it to the DNA from previous crimes, it was a perfect match. After this discovery, they distributed his picture in many places and gave it to people working at train stations. They were really afraid he might try another robbery. Unfortunately, he did exactly what they feared. On June 4, 1999, a girl went to her mother's house in Texas to check on her. The mother was 73 years old and lived alone. The first time she entered, it was clear the house had been robbed, but when she got to the bedroom, she found her mother murdered. After examining the crime scene, they were sure the killer was Rafael. The method matched perfectly with the previous ones. He entered through the window, went straight to the woman, killed her, then took his time stealing from the house. After the robbery, he ate an apple and some fruit that was in the house. When he was done and before leaving, he left an open newspaper for the investigators with an article about his crimes. There was no car in the victim's driveway, so they brought in police dogs which followed his scent to a train track. But then the scent just vanished. The detectives expected Rafael to take a break as usual and then start a new crime, but they were completely wrong. Less than 24 hours later, they found a new victim, a teacher, and her house was near a train track. When they got to the crime scene, the crime matched his previous ones exactly. The victim had been assaulted and beaten to death, and the DNA confirmed Rafael was the culprit. After killing the teacher, he ransacked the house and ate some of the food there. Then, he stole her car and took off. A few days later, they found the car near the train tracks by the Mexican border. The guy pulled off the same thing multiple times. He'd break into a house and shoot a couple with a rifle. Once, he broke into a woman's house when she was alone and killed her with an old clothes iron. Basically, this dude took his time and got creative with his ways of killing. After all these crimes, they put him on the list of America's most wanted dangerous criminals, released his picture with over 30 aliases, and offered a $50,000 reward to anyone who could give them info on Rafael. But despite all the efforts, they couldn't find any leads on this criminal. Investigators said he was smart, dangerous, and extremely cunning. Eventually, when hope ran out, they raised the reward to $125,000 and got flooded with calls. What they received was huge. Imagine, they got over 3,200 calls. Even though most of them were useless, the day after, a staff member at a homeless shelter noticed someone eating suspiciously. Right after that, he called the police and reported him. But then, Rafael vanished in the blink of an eye. After these events, they found out that Rafael had a wife in Mexico. They managed to contact his wife, and when they met her, she showed them jewelry Rafael used to send her. So basically, the guy was stealing from people and sending the stuff to his wife. He was a criminal, but also caring towards his wife. She told them that I saw him about a week ago, but I wasn't sure if he was going to meet him again or not. Then, out of the blue the next day, Rafael's sister called and told them that her brother decided to turn himself in to the FBI, and that the whole running away thing was just a kid's game. Rafael's sister made it clear that her brother shouldn't get hurt. They promised her he wouldn't be harmed and that they'd treat him humanely. Sure enough, on 7/12/19999, they arrested him and he turned himself in to the border guards in Texas without putting up any fight. After questioning, he confessed to committing 13 murders, 4 of which were unsolved cases. When they asked him what his motive was for carrying out all those killings, he told them his goal was to wipe out evil. When people caught him, no one believed the news. Everyone was living in fear and terror of this madman, especially those who lived near the railroad tracks. During his trial, he tried to act crazy to justify what he did, but unfortunately for him, he was sentenced to death. On June 27, 2006, Rafael Resendiz was executed by lethal injection in Texas. And that's how the story of one of the most dangerous serial killers in the world ended. Watch yourselves, lock your windows at home, we don't want another psycho like him around here. And that brings us to the end. Our story, see you in the next video. Bye.